Hey, Teddy K here for the Best Buy blog, and in this video we're taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, available at Best Buy now, Samsung's latest flagship that looks really familiar but adds additional AI features. This video is going to be short because it doesn't really need to be long, given that there's so much familiarity in this device that you could almost mistake it for the one that came before. The S25 Ultra, for the most part, resembles the S24 Ultra. There's some minor differences, like a slightly thinner bezel to make the screen a little bigger, it's flatter, lighter, but the big thing also though is that the S Pen, which still comes included, has no Bluetooth features. So the button that's on it doesn't really do much anymore. So if you like the remote shutter or any of the air gestures, those are all gone. Oh, and if you're thinking of using an older S Pen to work with this to get them, not going to happen either. Those features have been shut down completely on this device, so there's no way to get to them. The pen otherwise writes the same, so if you're just doodling or taking notes or anything like that, the response time is going to be exactly the same as before. So there's no real difference as far as the functionality of the pen as a pen. The major difference is on the software side, particularly when it comes to Galaxy AI, because that's what's been expanded upon the most. So Galaxy AI was initially introduced in the S24 series, and it's back in the S25 series, but now it's got some extra ones. So things like Audio Eraser, Best Face, Cross App, there's a few others as well that I'll get to. There's some interesting integrations here, particularly because of Google Gemini being in the mix as well, which I'm going to show you. But by and large, Samsung is trying to carve out its own niche and to try to make it feel more personalized and customizable. So the Now Brief and the Now Bar come to mind for that. The Now Brief is essentially a screen that you can pull up at any time that gives you kind of a snapshot of your day. So the weather, appointments, calendar, screen music you can stream, even news that's supposed to be sort of customized to what you like. All that is interesting in theory, but right now in practice it's still very early days. So I can't really show you a whole lot about it because not all the apps work with it yet. Samsung's apps will, Google's apps can as well, but again to a limited degree. So you're going to get more mileage out of some of the other AI stuff. But Now Brief, I can tell, is going to be Samsung's major drive towards making the phone feel like it's yours and really personalizing everything that you see on it. The Now Bar is kind of a similar thing. So if you look at the Dynamic Island on Apple's devices, you've seen something similar on OnePlus as well. Basically, that is just contextual information on an app that might be open or something that might be happening. It could be a score in a game. It could be a song that you're streaming. Anything that's just contextual, basically. I found cross-app actions to be more interesting, mainly because it integrates different apps together using Google Gemini as the driver. So, for example, I can have it, I'll give you an example here. I asked for the 10 best pizza places in New York City, and I wanted it to give me the addresses and also to point them out on a map. Now it did that, the map part it did already, but you'll see that it gave me the addresses also in Samsung Notes. This is something that I could ask for specifically, but when I open the Notes app, those addresses are there. It's super cool and really interesting, especially if you're visiting a place or you're unsure about where you could go or trying to assess certain options. I see real value in that, and it is very easy to use. Plus, you can also add on to it, so you can continue asking other things based on what you've asked. There's a similar kind of feature also with YouTube. So if you're watching a video on YouTube and you want to get a summary of that, you can do that. Bring up Gemini and then ask it to summarize. Now, one quick shortcut to do this is that if you already have the YouTube link for that, you can then slot that in after when it asks for it, and it'll immediately start to go into the summary. Again, you can also follow up here by asking other questions or diving in deeper into specifics about whatever it is you read in the summary. It's very cool, and it feels like again, it's not like you're talking to a human, but at the same time, you're getting interesting information about the video that might lead you to want to watch it or to actually skip to a specific part that is talking about an element that you're asking about. On the imaging side, now generative AI was already part of the previous phone, so that kind of carries over here, but again, there are interesting parts, but there are limitations too that you have to take note of. So if you're using Drawing Assist, for example, to either generate an image on your own or to create one based on one of your photos, you're going to find that it will not create a cartoon or a sketch version of any photo that you put up there. It has to be a portrait shot, and ideally it's got to be a portrait shot of like the neck up. I've tried this with people shots it could be full body, it could be, from the waist up, and it just doesn't create those versions. Instead, it creates an entirely different image that has almost nothing to do. I mean, yes, it's related to what is in the photo, but there's no resemblance to anything that actually was in the photo. And so even with the portraits too, it's hit or miss. I tried it for me, and the results I got really didn't look like me most of the time. More often they just look like somebody else. And it wasn't just me. This happened with other people that I tried it with as well. So it's one of those things where, again, kind of interesting that it's there. It's kind of cool. You can generate pretty much any image you want. You can create uniforms or jerseys and things like that. I think that's kind of neat. That's one thing where I can see, some real value in terms of sort of brainstorming ideas. And I like that Samsung puts a watermark on there to indicate that it is an AI image, but the results are definitely going to be hit or miss. So, do with it what you will. I'm not going to say much about the cameras because they shoot very much like the S24 Ultra. Yes, there is a 50 megapixel ultra wide, which can shoot better. Not so much because the megapixels, but more so because the sensor's a little better in how the software also works. But regardless, you can get good images. It's not that you can't. It's just that I don't really see anything super interesting in the way that the camera shoots relative to what it did before. So action photography still remains a real problem here. If you have a moving subject, it could even be a kid or a pet, chances are it's going to come out blurry, and even the results can be even worse if you're trying to use the portrait mode. So there are some limits there. Expert RAW is really cool though. It still remains the best way if you are semi-pro or a serious amateur and you want more granular control over editing afterward. That's the way to go. For video recording, log is actually supported here for the first time, and that I can see being a real value if you're in a video recording and you want that same control that photographers get with raw photos. Again, it's not probably going to match Apple's ProRes, but at least it's there, and it's about time. Quick points: battery life, pretty much the same, no difference. This is exactly the same battery going back to the S22 Ultra, so no real surprises there. Nothing's going to really shock you in any good way here as far as the battery goes. It also charges the same way. There is, though, one thing, and that is that MagSafe or Qi 2 charging is supported, but you have to get the right case. So it's not in the phone itself. You have to get the right case, and then that way you can use those magnetic accessories that Apple's been using under MagSafe, or any Qi 2 charger that has a magnet built in as well. And in short, I'll just say, if you have an S24 or even an S23 Ultra, I don't know that you necessarily need to upgrade to this, unless the AI features really, really matter to you. If you have an S22, you might want to consider it because this will feel like a bit of a different phone, and the camera hardware is different from this compared to the S22. But otherwise, this is a really, really iterative upgrade, and one that, again, didn't really move the needle in a big way. The AI features are kind of interesting, but it's going to take time to figure out exactly, or to see where they ultimately land. And that's my review of the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, available at Best Buy now. You can check it out by clicking that link below. For the Best Buy blog, I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.